All right, dude. I'm liking his TV that he's got there. Like, I like the setup that he's got going on.
I'm back. How's it going?
You're back. Shit, it's going well. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay, all things considered.
Yeah, all things considered. What do you mean? What do you got?
I'm busy with work. I'm editing my 3 documentaries I filmed while I was in Ukraine. I have 3 longer form 30-minute to 40-minute documentaries. I think probably like 2 to 3 smaller pieces that are like 10, 15-minute things I could put out, alongside a bunch of standalone interviews that are part of the documentaries that I'll release after. It's kind of like not a behind the scenes, but extra content. Like if I interview somebody for an hour and a half and I only use like 10 minutes for the documentary, that's still like a big interview that'd be cool to release on its own. And so I'm working on editing all this stuff and paying translators and getting editors on it, and it's taken a while, but yeah, I'm just my head's full of all of that work and coming back to the States and being able to see people I haven't seen in 8-9 months.
Yeah, what's that like?
It's weird. It's weird. I mean, I'm still relatively young, so I feel like these time periods feel longer for me than they do for other people, since I'm still like 22, so 8 months is a significant period of time. But I just look at it like this. It's like college. I'm away for 8 months, I'm back home for 4 months, and away for 8 months again. So it's just like college, except it's a little bit more explodey.
For me, it'd be like similar to being in the military when I came home from leave, and you'd come home and all your friends are doing something else, and you're like a part of geopolitical happenings, or like, and it's like, oh man. So it's really good that you're occupying your time though editing. And what's can you give a little details of what the documentaries are without spoiling it, if you don't want to?
I mean, it's just the premise of the documentary. I don't know what spoilers I'm gonna give out. Like on the 3rd one, we win the war. But I have my first one is I already released an article about it with UPI with Patrick Hillsman, and it was it's a piece about artillerymen and their lives, the struggles they face, how they live, what their dugouts are like, and just the general artillery war, talking about artillery production, where all the shells are coming from all across the globe, to try to paint a general picture for somebody who doesn't have much familiarity with the type of positional warfare that's going on in Ukraine, to give them the idea of what a Ukrainian artilleryman's life is like. And the different factors that affect it. And that's where the artillery production stuff comes in. That's going to be at least 30 minutes to 40 minutes plus. We already did an article about it with UPI, and so now we're in the editing process, we're in the translation process, we're in the script writing process. I already have the general outline. We're just working off of that, trying to finish scripts so then we can do final recordings. For my final recordings for the script. That's the first one.
I don't think the audience appreciates like how much actual work goes into that when you want to produce a good piece of journalism like this, because it's one thing, I feel maybe it's just for me, and maybe you might agree, but sitting on here on the stream, firing up my computer and going through the latest on the internet really isn't that difficult. You know what I mean? Like maybe sometimes in breaking news moments, you don't want to say the wrong thing, so you get a little nervous or stressed a little. But beyond that, like honestly, this is easy. So when you're there and you're talking to people, and then you have the film, the cinematography of it, and then the editing of that, and then just putting together I love it. I personally like the process, but it takes so much more work. And I wish that more people would like that, and more people would watch that more so than just, talking.
Yeah, the streaming stuff, for me, ends up bringing much more home, much more money, much more viewership. I'm much prouder of the long form content that I'm doing, because I feel like it's a better time capsule 30, 40, 50 years from now than a 3-hour stream where I talk about the news that'll only be relevant for like 42 to 72 hours after I did that particular stream, unless there was like a particularly funny debate or conversation.
True. Right? And then that usually gets made into a video anyways that goes viral. So like it gets taken out of your stream and it becomes like its own video. So
yeah, exactly. And I like the editing and the filming process that I have. I can be a lot more flexible. I can go out into the world instead of being just in this one space where I bring articles and videos on stream. I can interact with people that are outside of this space a lot more easily. That means I can do stuff on the ground, which is just impossible to do while I'm behind my computer screen. It gives me much more freedom, and I'm getting very interested in documentary filmmaking, and I'm thinking about things like film school now, which I'm very interested in.
Oh, hell yeah. See, that's like the type of journalism I want to do, is documentary journalism, which I guess is just documentary filmmaking, right? It's just a form of journalism. Yeah. So, but like, I want to have that whole thing for me. Like, that's, I mean, I have a couple of videos coming out in the next week or two about, I went to Bucha and talked to this baker who don't want to spoil for my audience because I want them to watch, but like, this guy built his bakery hut during COVID, and like it somehow made it through the initial days of the invasion. Like, the Russians didn't touch it or anything, and he's like kept it going. And like, I heard his story and it was amazing. And we went to Irpin and we did some video there and talked to people, and it was just a much better experience. I mean, I've tried doing that more so like when I had my morning live show with Good Morning Kyiv, and that was awesome. I love doing that and sitting down and talking to you a few times and others. But you know, so there's just something about not being live and like being there with someone and having that conversation, and then making, you know, putting so much effort into the post processing and the editing into it. Like, it's almost like a whole nother level of care to it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's there's just so much more flexibility that I have in storytelling, and I can be much more concise with my presentation, where there's not going to be like big gaps and pauses, and the information that I'm giving you, I can pre-prepare everything much better. I can include other people. It gives me so much more freedom than what I'm able to do just on stream. Even though I still enjoy this, I still enjoy the debates, I still enjoy the conversations, I still enjoy talking to the news, I still love my community and everything. But it's just this is something that I'm more personally interested in now, much more personally interested in.
So a live audience, we love y'all, but check out the passion projects that we got, especially Dylan, because he's been doing a little longer, so I'm gonna have to learn from him. But I've also started similar, and I love it. You know, having a good video quality, having 4K video, and you know it's gonna be dope. I like that. But obviously, yeah, you guys, my stream isn't going anywhere. But me personally, I feel like I'm also kind of trying to get towards that. Lately, and I'm trying not to get discouraged by the lesser view counts, because again, I know more people watch my streams than my produced content, but it just takes time. I just got to stick with it.
Yeah, I mean, you're building a totally new audience in a totally different field, and it's something that was hard for me to realize. And I'm trying to find nice sweet spots where these two areas overlap, so it's like I can kind of I can still like hit good shots while I'm building up this new community and try to retain as much of the old viewership as I can. But a lot of times you're just going to have to release content until the audience finds you, and do your best to go into the communities where you see that pre-existing audience and try to establish yourself there outside of the established communities you had before. For you, I assume that's a lot of like talking to people who don't just like play video games in GTA like I know you used to do. And for me, that means trying to get a lot of people who watch content that's totally different than my stream content, like Vice documentaries. Like, that means talking to a totally new landscape of content creators.
It's really helped me actually play in the video games, and I've pulled a lot of people from that niche to like current events, because it's streams, so they don't have to change the type of content that they like, which is again live streams. So like, I've been able to bring them to like, hey, check out what's happening in Ukraine, but we'll play video games later, you know, type shit. And it's actually worked out pretty well for me personally. What has been some of the changes you've had to make, you know, streaming in Ukraine? And you've been streaming, how many months in a row now did you stream in Ukraine?
I mean, 8 months. This last time around, it was 8 months of streaming, and
What's the biggest change to now being home?
The less power outages, which is good. Not having to worry. Early on, there was worrying about lights and like my lighting, and my lighting was really bad early on. It's still pretty bad, but it was much worse early on because I couldn't have lights on because it could get out the window early on in the curfew period in the Kyiv area. That was a problem. I've had problems with just the quality of the internet connection as I go out east is something that I constantly had to deal with. Sometimes when I'm out east, it's just impossible to stream because I don't have a good connection. Or if I was to stream on my phone, it would just not be safe. And trying to figure out where I can stream when I'm out east and where I can't stream when I'm out east, what I can show, what I can't show. That was always a big problem because there's such cool stuff that I'd like to show. And it'd be so cool for people to see the war as it happens that way, but it's just never going to be safe to do it that way as it happens for OPSEC reasons.
Right. Absolutely. Because I tell my stream too, like so many times they want to see a live video and I'm just like, I can't, especially the further we go. So when I went to Kramatorsk, I straight up told my people like, hey, it's, I'm no streams over there. Okay. We'll stream when I come back and talk about it. But yeah, but I feel like things like that are, for me personally, at least, are motivating me to do more produced content like we're talking about, because yeah, I just can't stream everywhere, especially in the climate we're in with I'd say even in the US.
I did stream in Kramatorsk.
Oh, really?
But we got interrupted by sirens and bombings and stuff like that. And that was always weird to get interrupted by that like that on stream and seeing how people react to it. Because the first few times something like that happened, of course, it was very jolting. But every single time it happened since then, and it's still somewhat jolting, but you can see my reaction is more and more like, I'm not going to say matter of fact, but I could say I've gotten more adjusted to the fact that that's just part of it. It's just part of being, if you're streaming in Ukraine, definitely in anywhere that is slightly contested in the airspace or in range of the Russians, like that is something that you're just going to have to deal with as a streamer. And I'm not the only streamer to have this problem. A lot of local Ukrainian streamers have had this problem as well. Yeah.
Especially, I imagine the content creators that like to in Ukraine that like to do drone shots and whatnot. I mean, that's probably canceled everywhere. Huh?
Oh yeah, and all the drone stuff. I mean, I know a few people who have just tried to do some reporting with drones, and like I was with one guy who tried to do it, and I felt nervous the entire time because it's like anybody sees a drone, they're gonna go like wild. And I mean, he got very, very lucky, but yeah, no. For me, I guess the main adjustment is just when something like that happens, trying to figure out what to do. Because when the sirens start blaring, I don't end stream. Outside of Kiev, I have like a studio that's underground. It's like a bunker studio, so it allows me to just keep streaming no matter what, generally, which I really like. But when I'm not there, I also don't usually end streams when there's sirens, because it's just the sirens are just so constant sometimes. But when there is some sort of if you can hear an explosion, that's my line. If you can hear an explosion, the stream's over.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb right there. The first month I got there, it was July, I think. Beginning of July. Yeah, I didn't stream when the alarm would go off, but then this last time I'm like, yeah, the alarm's going off, you guys. I mean, there's nothing I can, I'm not going to pause right now, and got to do what I got to do. But yeah, we had the drone attack when I was there. 74 out of 75 drones were intercepted. I heard the sound of the drone for the first time. Yeah,
Shaheeds?
Yeah, Shaheeds.
They sound like flying lawnmowers, don't they?
Literally, yeah. And like, yeah, then you get the air defense. But I've heard the air defense before, but this was my first time actually hearing the Shaheeds. I didn't actually audibly hear them the last time.
Yeah, and then they linger. They're slow. They're slow and they're loud. I mean, they're not like Stutkas or anything, but yeah, the due to just how slow they are, like you always get like a good sound of them. It's not like a 3-second like boom. Wait, what was that? Like you can hear it, and as it gets closer, you say, okay, it's a Shaheed.
Fuck, right? Yeah, that raggedy lawnmower noise. It was insane. So beyond that, my truck didn't make it to Ukraine on this last time. It broke down in Poland. But I'm going back. I know it sounds stupid. Everyone's like, why are you going back for like so short? But I feel like we got to get that thing delivered. I made a promise to the 77th Brigade, and we got to follow through on that. So
is there nobody else that can deliver it on your behalf?
I mean, I'm sure, but like, I already had so many Votnik trolls that say, look at Mercado delivers garbage, fucking trucks and shit. So you already know how I was like, I just feel like, even though I've already delivered like 3 trucks already personally, that'd have been fine. But I feel like and plus people have sent things that I didn't even collect before we left last time, and it just would be a good actual delivery this time, because the last one did not go well at all. Not much went well for me. I had mercury was in Gatorade or something for me last time.
I heard you were sick.
Yeah, recently. I just got out of the hospital yesterday. Yeah, I had ligma. So I'm recovered though.
I'm not falling for that. No, I wasn't. I mean, come on. I'm younger than you.
I know. I tried to sneak it in though, really quick, see if it worked. I have an old person thing issues now. Ironically, I have a kidney stone. Drinking too much soda. I've now gone 2 days without soda though. So
wow,
2 days. Yeah, I know.
I haven't done that.
Really? Yeah. But hey, listen, I'm not gonna tell you what to do with your life, but man, this sucks. I tell you what, this pain I got
look
issues.
I'm 22 years old. My body feels fine. It'll be like that forever.
You're right. 100%. Yeah. That's what I said. Now I feel like I literally feel like my dad. He used to tell me the same shit. Now I feel like I'm telling you the same thing. But listen, go ahead though. Hey, when you got that searing pain going in places where you didn't think you could get pain.
I think what was that one? I remember Hunter S. Thompson had this quote about, at the end of life, I want to be riding a motorcycle and to like look like I spiraled out and skid across the floor with bumps and bruises from a life well lived.
Sorry,
I kind of like that idea. I like that idea a lot. That doesn't mean I want to feel a bunch of pain. I'm just talking to the audience now. Doesn't mean I want to feel a bunch of pain, but you get the idea. Life well lived.
I really couldn't even hear him. Got some car alarm going off. My bad. I got the window open because it's kind of feels nice in Minnesota. We have some weird December going on. It's like 40. It's like 50 degrees in December.
I forget you live in Minnesota.
Yeah. So I like when people are like, I don't want to get into a rant, but like about the climate. Listen, Minnesota, we are having weather that we should not be having in December. I'm just saying that. And we've had it like for many years now.
All right. You guys don't deserve warm weather.
Listen, I know most Minnesotans are complaining. 50 degrees feels great. Less extreme cold. But yeah, some idiots got their alarm going off. I couldn't even hear you. My bad.
It's okay.
Anyways. So, Senate aid didn't make it this time.
Nope, Senate aid did not make it. They had they were going to have the vote Wednesday, and Zelensky was going to be calling in to give some sort of breakdown about why they needed the aid and what they were going to use it for and stuff like that. But had to cancel at the last second. We don't know exactly why. There's some speculation that it was a security issue, while others people have speculated that he kind of got the idea that it wasn't going to pass, and so he didn't want to be seen backing a failing effort if he knew it was going to fail. Who knows exactly what happened? But what happened, what we know, is that the Democrats bundled together $110 billion worth of aid for both Israel, Ukraine, some border funding, and Taiwan. And they were going to pass this together through the Senate. Chuck Schumer was going to introduce the Senate bill, try to get it through, get the aid through, after this bill has been kicked down the road again and again and again and again. And Ukraine aid has been kicked down the road probably for 3 months now, from when the first proposed aid packages to Ukraine were made months ago. And so once this was put on, about to be put on the Senate floor, this new proposal was thrown by Mike Johnson at the Senate Democrats, saying, if you want to pass this legislation, then you also have to pass the separate immigration bill, this immigration legislation that had recently failed to get through the Senate, and failed by a vote of like 51 to 49, like as in 51 against 49 in favor. It was like it was not close to the 60 votes necessary to pass with the filibuster. Right. The Democrats said it was a non-starter. They said that Joe Biden said he was willing to make some compromise, and Chuck Schumer said we're willing to make some compromise on the border, but that bill failed for a reason. And trying to push forward an unfavorable bill attached to this favorable bill is not something that they want to get behind. And so then they canceled the vote because they knew it was going to fail. And it has been taken off the table for now. Now, to be clear, because it didn't fail and they took it off the table for a vote, that does mean that technically the legislation could be reintroduced by Chuck Schumer in the next 8 days before they close for the holidays. but the odds of it succeeding in the next 8 days are tremendously low. Odds are we're probably not going to really be considering a settlement of this until next month, sometime in early January.
Dang. So this is that supplemental aid package that I was that I came back from Washington and talked to you about, and we had discussed about having it all packaged together. Well, having it all packaged together didn't work. Having it separate, when they wanted to separate it, they took Ukraine out completely. Just had some 10 million or whatever for Israel, and then didn't have any border aid. So
it was 10 billion for Israel.
Yeah, 10 billion for Israel. Yeah, right. It didn't seem to, nobody wanted that one either. So what do you think Biden's going to have to get involved in the talks, or?
I mean, I assume Biden is already somewhat involved in the talks. I know he had direct correspondence with Mike Johnson on multiple occasions, so I'm sure they've traded words a few times. It's probably weird from the Biden administration's perspective, because to him, this is an upstart congressman who has never been, this high up before in this position, completely out of his depth. Barely holding on to a House majority and barely holding his party together, making a big demand on a priority that the majority of Americans and congressmen and senators already support, and holding it, not only aid to Ukraine, but aid to Israel as well. A war that's actively going on and is a priority to basically every sitting legislator to get the military aid, except for like 14 people on the progressive side of the Democratic Party. So I would assume he's very frustrated, and they're going to try to find some compromise, I guess, is really all we can think. Because, I mean, Joe Biden said he's willing to find some middle ground. Outside of that, it would be, okay, we don't pass any aid, and we're just going to wait here and give Israel, Taiwan, and Ukraine nothing until you come to the table and talk like adults. And I don't think that's a safe bet. I don't think it's a safe bet, because who knows how long they're willing to hold that out for. Are they willing to hold it out for until the 2024 elections? I don't know. Israel is a big priority for them, but with how dysfunctional this Republican Party is, I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, it's insane, right? Speaker McCarthy's leaving, right? Or he's quitting?
Speaker McCarthy...
Former Speaker McCarthy. Yeah.
Speaker McCarthy's now like talking about being an advisor to Trump if he's the win in 2024 and being part of his cabinet. Jesus. He's talking about that. But yeah, he's tapping out, it seems like. Yes. Former Speaker McCarthy.
Yeah. So that's just another L. So, will that embolden the hardliners in the GOP to stay strong against Ukraine and like basically?
I don't think the Kevin McCarthy stuff is going to have an impact on the Ukraine. I think it's going to be difficult for Republicans, because on one hand, they want to delay the Ukraine aid to placate a certain fringe of their base that they need in order to keep the Mike Johnson majority together. But on the other hand, they have a lot of donors and a lot of their base and a lot of those in office deeply support Israel, and this being bundled together gives more leverage to Biden, because he can just hold it all back and say, look, all together or none of it at all. And if that's what the Republicans decide on, that's going to be very disastrous for what is supposed to be the Republican Party's one of their favorite allies, one that much of their base supports, and that is constantly being talked about in the press right now. So I would say that the Democrats do have leverage here. They still have the Senate. They still have the presidency. And by bundling it together, they are making it so that the Republicans cannot just try to pass Israel aid and not care about Ukraine. So there is leverage there. There is stuff that Biden can try to pull on during these negotiations in order to find a solution. But ultimately, the Democrats are going to be mainly concerned about setting not only passing legislation that they don't support here when it comes to the border, but also setting a precedent of tying immigration issues or policy changes on the border to Ukraine aid, which is not going to end probably not going to end with this aid package, and could be also an issue with other foreign policy like aid packages. Imagine if every time we want to send an aid package to, I don't know, Germany or wherever, we have to like pass some don't say gay law, or they don't. Bro, there's a concern about bundling these completely separate issues.
Yeah,
which was what Mike Johnson's main complaint about the bundling in the first place when he first became speaker was, I don't like this bundling. We need to vote on everything separately.
That's what I thought. Because listen, I come from conservative land, so I gotta tell you constantly, I used to be like one of them. So I know that Republicans and conservatives, at least in theory, don't like seeing big bills could as one go, like one big omnibus package or whatever, and they like it separate or at least looked at, which again, you made a perfect case for it last time we talked about it, of like how to separate it but examine each one individually, but not have it all together. But it's like you had said, now it's probably the only way to get it through is to have it all together. But yeah, that the progressive wing of the Democrats are not going to be happy with funding to ICE or funding to Israel.
I thought Schumer's point when this was thrown at him was perfect. I thought it was perfectly sensible. It was like, look, we are willing to find some compromise on you. We're willing to do this thing with fentanyl. We're willing to do this thing with that. But if you're going to want to pass this, if you're going to want to pass that same bill, which lost overwhelmingly before, attached to this, if you want to do that through the amendment process, you're going to have to find some amendment and pick up 10 Democrat votes. You're going to have to get 60 votes. You're going to have to make some concessions and convince them in some way. If you want to tie these issues together, you cannot just use Ukraine as a tool to leverage policy issues, policy changes on the border. And tying foreign policy issues to this is just a precedent they don't want to set.
Exactly. And I went to the border right before I went to Ukraine this last time. And the all-out invasion at the border. I mean, I understand that there's crossings and they come in groups, but like in my mind, living in the state of Minnesota and how this is painted to me is that there's just like the cartel has these immigrants just lined up on the fucking border, just in like in waves, just sending them across, like all out, like nonstop. And the cartel is just like sending them. And I went there, I didn't see one crossing. Not one. We were down there for 2 days, and then my friend who was with me, and he's like, we got to go to this one spot. And I'm like, I get it. Like, listen, I know what you're saying. Like, we got to go to this spot to see it. But the idea is that it's an all out invasion. Like, I should be able to see it wherever I'm at. At least that's what I thought. Like, I should just be there. I can like open my eyes and see the invasion across the border and how bad it is. Now, it's not to say that there isn't an issue. The issue, from what I learned, and I got to do some more time down there. Maybe you could come with me down there. If you're in the US, we could do a tag team if you have time.
Sure, why not? That sounds fun.
We could do, because I got connections down there personally. Me and you could do some fucking good work. And so I learned that it's more of the system, the immigration system, and it's backlogged. People will be on that shit, like on the asylum wait list for like 10, 20 years. They build a family, they start, their kids go to school here and all that shit, and then they get denied. Or the opposite side, which is what the GOP plays into often, is like someone could be here on asylum, or they're waiting for their asylum court date and they're committing crimes, or they're a criminal, which again is a small percentage, but that's focused on that political side of things. So it's a systemic issue within that. It's not this like waves of immigrants just coming across. They do come. And I did actually go to the spot in Eagle Pass where Elon Musk was standing with his hat backwards, and it was empty. There was nobody there. It was late at night. I thought, I swear, and again, I'm going to go back, guys. Texas, I know you guys are like, it's there, I promise. Like, they're crossing. I'm like, okay, I'm with it. I'm going to go back and check it out. But in my mind, when I'm told that there's an invasion at the border,
it's the problem is that I see people trying to tie the Ukraine issue to the border issue so often. And when you're saying invasion in the way that they're saying invasion, when they talk about, well, instead of worried about the invasion in Ukraine, we should worry about the invasion across the border.
Exactly.
If you're framing it that way, then I do expect the Nicaraguans to be coming with flags risen, AKs over their shoulder, chanting socialist songs as they march into the country and take it over for Cesar Chavez or whatever the fuck, right? That's what I'm imagining when you paint it that way. What I instead get is that there are points at the border where coyotes and others are able to bring people up, and they cross the border illegally, enter the country with themselves and their families, after paying them like $1,000 in order to try to find work in the United States because their home country is unbelievably poor and crime ridden, and maybe they have some prosecution of some sort. Like
Funny,
that I wouldn't call that an invasion in the sense that it is talked about regularly in right-wing networks. And you can say that's undocumented immigration. But invasion, nah.
That's the scope I was working myself into, though, because I wanted to play into, like, I was like, okay, I kind of focused on the GOP narrative of it when I went there, and I was very ironic with it. Like Trump's, and this is kind of funny, but Trump's border wall is literally, there's just pieces of it, and then it ends, and then there's just random openness, and then there's more of it. It doesn't make any sense how it's built, but it's kind of funny, but like shit like that. So, but I actually want to find out the real issues that are down there and talk to the sheriffs. And
are you telling me the border doesn't work?
Listen, there's a border fence already, but it's already like 100. It's already like 10 miles off of the actual border.
What if we made the wall a little taller? Wouldn't that work?
I think if we put it underground, like dug under, that would work.
Gotcha.
Listen. No,
so like a big moat.
No, we need HIMARS at the border.
HIMARS. That's why we get cluster munitions to the homeless, HIMARS to the border.
We need border agents need to be able to travel in Bradleys. So the Bradleys that we're sending to Ukraine could go to those border agents.
That is true. That is true.
Super true. But yeah, they got, I mean, in all seriousness, no, like they got some fucked up, like Greg Abbott's doing some fucking bad things on that border, like putting like the buoys in the water have razor wire on them.
I saw that. I saw they had like razor saws in the middle of them.
I saw it with my own eyes. It's so inhumane, and like it's so bad. Like razor on the actual buoy, and then all of it has like little spikes on the whole thing. Like,
are there any warnings about the razors or anything?
No warning signs. Like, hey, don't grab this or nothing. They're just buoys in the water. So when people are like struggling or drowning, they'll grab onto it and then cut themselves or like, and then bleed out in the water and die. Basically, it's
supposed to stop them from swimming across, I assume.
Right, but it ends up they get caught on it and then drown, which yeah. So it's that. But he also put a bunch of like after Elon went, he put a whole bunch of containers on it too. I filmed. I got to stream all of this. The border agents are actually cool. That's what I'm saying. We could do some content down there. Like, they were like, yeah, go over there. Like, yeah, go. You can stream. Yeah, sure, it's fine. So they had razor wire on it, and it just looks so stupid. And then you look across the river in Mexico, and there's like a coffee stand, and people are running along the river, and it's like, fucking, what the hell is going on? It's crazy. So, and then the other thing I thought that was funny is because the actual border is the river, and Americans live on the river. I went to it's a city just northwest of Eagle Pass. And there's like Americans that actually live on the river, and there's no buoys in the water, there's no fence, nothing. And I swear to God, I'm driving past, they had trampolines in their backyard and just like typical American backyards, grills and shit, typical shit. And then like one of them had a Trump flag and like big MAGA stuff, and like he's just flying it, and like, the river is actually really skinny, and you can see Mexico like right there. There's like a little pueblo and like some other shit going on, and like a storage hut. And I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, there's literally Americans on here, no border security at all. And it was just eye-opening for me. Again, I didn't spend a whole lot of time because it wasn't the total experience I thought it was going to be in the journalism I thought. But I saw enough to be like, okay.
I want to, you know what I want to do? I want to interview the militias that try to patrol the border.
You can do that
and see what they do, and like what their reasoning is, and what their patrols actually look like. I want to record one of these patrols.
They can do that. We can do that. That's a whole thing down there, because in Texas it's a big deal. Yeah, that's what I thought. Listen, that's why I was bummed that I didn't get to do any of this shit when I went, because I was ready. I came right off of the artillery line in Ukraine, thinking I was going to be able to, like, actually fucking cross the border or something, like with the group and share their experience or something, and it just didn't happen. So like, that's possible. We can go into Mexico and like go with the group and shit. Like, it's 100% possible to do that.
That does sound like a good way to get kidnapped. But you know what?
Listen, you've already been on the artillery line with Russia firing at you. You can do this.
That's true, man. But those are fucking cartels, man.
Yeah, true. Actually, yeah, true. Actually, true. They're scary. They are intimidating.
I will have to do like you know how the maybe if I just had like a drinking contest with them, I could like win them over, and then they'd give me even better journalism. What would you do to try to impress a cartel member so they spare your life?
Shit, tequila. Drink as much as you can, dude. Just let it ride. Just try best as you can. Shit, I don't know.
That's true.
Drinking contests.
And if you are incredibly wasted on tequila, no matter what happens, it'll probably not be as bad.
True. Like, yeah, if you like you end up on a recipient of a film or something, you know, you won't even know what's happening to you.
That's true.
It might go well. So for our European audience, when it comes to Ukraine, Viktor Orban and Hungary are being very, very not good here. They're not being very friendly, NATO friendly here, are they?
No, man. Viktor Orban's a cunt.
Yeah. Would you got something on Viktor Orban here?
Not anything recently. Did something happen recently?
EU aims to grant Ukraine aid even if Hungary vetoes it.
Oh, I don't know about that story, but I'll tell you about what's happening. So,
go ahead.
Viktor Orban's government has been not really playing by the rules when it comes to certain like, I don't know what to call them besides like freedom protocols, like when it comes to issues like press freedom, freedom around elections. And when it comes to different EU regulations around issues around human rights, but just like basic issues like trade as well. Viktor Orban is seen as somebody who, quote unquote, stands up to the Brussels bureaucrats, right? Where the EU is coming into Hungary and telling Hungary to do this and Hungary to do that. When Hungary doesn't want to do this, Hungary doesn't want to do that. If Hungary wants to, you know, bully gay people, that's Hungary's business. And that's the premise behind it. That's the conflict. And so in that conflict, this has resulted in a lot of money that would have been allocated to Hungary from the EU being blocked. And so what has happened is, in order for the EU to get certain priorities passed, since unanimity is still a requirement through doing a lot of stuff through the UN, not the UN, through doing stuff through the EU, and you need this kind of like unanimous consent to pass a lot of the like regulatory changes that the EU needs, or to get certain policy priorities done. What the Hungarians will do is basically say, hey, release this money or we won't help you with XYZ priority, or they'll threaten to sabotage, for example, Ukraine aid. And so what I assume this is, having not read the updated story, is the European Union trying to find some way to turn that on its head and say, we're going to support Ukraine with or without the Hungarians.
That's what it's looking like. So that story literally just came out. So it's probably why you haven't read it yet. Yeah, it just came out from Brussels.
What does it say?
European Union will provide more ways of financial support to Ukraine, even if Hungary vetoes it, as membership talks for Kyiv at a summit next week. So there's a summit next week, EU summit. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban has threatened to block moves to give Kyiv 50 billion euros in budget support through 2027 and greenlit for membership talks, a key strategic objective for Ukraine. You know, we know that failure to deliver these two proposals could come as a heavy blow to Ukraine, as we know. Ukraine relies heavily on economic assistance.
I mean, let's pause this for a moment. Could you imagine what message it would send if in 1 week we had aid to Ukraine from the United States, that's sabotage, and then a few weeks later we had this big aid package, this $50 billion, $61.5 billion from the United States, broken. $50 billion from EU, broken.
Yeah, that's what I was concerned.
There's a message that's being sent here about an abandonment that is going to about an abandonment of Ukraine, even if this gets resolved down the line. That is going to have a negative effect on Ukraine, embolden the Russians, and cause them to think that doubling down on this policy was a good idea, which could then further drag out the conflict.
It's going to weaken the West too, because I'm telling you right now, a lot of people because the majority still support Ukraine in the West, and it's just the voices aren't being heard because of Israel and Hamas, right? That's kind of dominating the news still. So people's like the majority of like the concerns of this aren't being heard.
It's not prioritized in news coverage as much.
No, it's really not. So I feel like it's gonna cripple us even more. I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna be fucking like, what is our word then? Like I'm gonna have an existential crisis a little bit personally. Like, what is our word then if like we let Russia like just fucking take Ukraine after the guarantees that we signed in the Budapest memorandum. But then not only that, but just in the last year, since the full scale invasion, all these recommitments and like, yeah, Ukraine, you're going to be just recently, yeah, you're going to be a part of NATO. How is Ukraine going to like be a part of NATO and like all of these organizations if we're giving up on them right now? You know what I mean? If the governments in the West are like slowly just giving up right now.
I mean, it's embarrassing because it seems to be a tendency of the West to make commitments to Ukraine and then they kind of find ways to wiggle themselves out of those commitments or not fulfill those commitments to its end goal. The Budapest Memorandum is, I think, the best example of this, where we made a commitment to stand with them and defend their territorial integrity. We go back on that commitment. 2014, the Ukrainians asked for assistance. The interim president was like, please, they're invading Crimea. We don't do batshit. The Obama administration does very little to dissuade it, places some sanctions, which the Russians, of course, made note of. And then we had eight years of fighting, continued like halting of offensive aid until like late Trump administration, which is when they finally sent over things like javelins. I mean, we've continued to placate the Russians on this issue for too long.
Yeah, we have. We just we're playing with them, and Russia doesn't respond to weakness. They don't respond to, like, they want this. This is the whole point. This is why they influence our elections, and they get people that are Votniks in governments, because they want this uncertainty. And then they know that the West, we have a short attention span. They know that we're on to the next thing, or they know that the West is just about good vibes. And obviously having Ukraine news for 2 years, people are like going to be just tired of it, right? In the West, because people need good vibes all the time.
Just because
the same thing.
Just because the problem isn't no longer any more popular to like watch or listen to, or it's not getting as much ratings, doesn't mean the problem's gone away. Doesn't mean you can just ignore the problem and now not try to deal with the problem now. And if you try to find some short-term solution to the problem that doesn't deal with the foundation with what's causing it, then it's just going to turn its ugly head again 5, 10, 15 years from now. If you patch up a bunch of rotten wood in your house, the rot is going to spread. It's only going to get worse if you don't deal with the issue now. And that's my position on this war, is if we cannot find any way to have a ceasefire agreement that'll be satisfactory for the people of Ukraine, that will guarantee that the Russians do not invade again, then we got to find another way to deal with the issue now and not delay it. Just do another ceasefire and fight again in 5 years when the West is no longer paying attention.
All right, and then likely the American soldiers then go to Europe for that type shit, and then it's like we're spending even more. We're spending trillions probably at that point. It's insane. But yeah, I'm hoping that this aid package can get through somehow. Then the negotiations happen, like you said. It probably won't be until January. 8 days is a short amount of time. I don't think they
break on the 15th, so it's 7 days now.
Oh wow, yeah, 7 days. I don't know, unless Biden can pull a Houdini.
I mean, there's just no way that even if Biden came to the conclusion, like, fine, I'm okay with passing your gigantic immigration law, he would have to convince enough Democratic senators to flip and support it, all considering the fact that every single Democratic senator voted against this, because they would need to have if they keep the filibuster, which we have no reason to believe they'd get rid of it, they need 60 votes. They need to convince 11 people to sign on, if we include Kirsten Gillibrand.
My goodness. I'm tapping back into that shit when I get back to Ukraine, or when I get back home from Ukraine. I'm going to try to do what I see the great Dylan Burns do, and just cover so many topics and just going over them. It's just basically a lot of reading, isn't it? Just keeping up on reading.
It's constantly reading, man. Constantly reading. Just trying to constantly absorb as much information as you can. Because it's like, streamers stream for so long, but like, I don't want to keep, and I already have this problem too, where I feel like sometimes we're just saying the same things over and over again, but it's because the same topics come up over and over again. It's the same issues over and over again. But I don't ever want to have like a 6-hour streams of just like the same thing every day. This isn't a video game stream where I can just stream the same thing over and over and over and over again every day, like just repeating like rounds of CSGO. I want to make sure that my audience is getting new information. And if I'm just saying the same things over and over and over again, it's going to get old. So I really do need to make sure that I'm always building, building more, like constantly building my base of knowledge, out that I can share with my audience.
And speaking of, we got to give GGs to Dylan. Mostly his audience definitely watched, but maybe if my audience watched, you did really good on Destiny the other night.
Did you watch my debate with Destiny?
Yeah, you did really good.
What did you think of our conversation?
Probably hands down the most sane debate about that. I feel like you opened his eyes to a lot of points too, especially about the settlements on the Golan. Because you made that point so and then he was like, oh yeah, actually, he actually thought about it a little more. Like a lot of his points, and often because I watch his debates with crazy people that are just so angry, and your guys had like a full kind of like a conversational debate. There's some points that got a little heated, but I mean, it's obviously there's a good entertainment point with that too. But I mean, other than that, you guys, I think it was the best. So if you don't know who Destiny is, he's obviously one of the biggest. I think he's one of the biggest political streamers now. Or he's getting there.
Yeah, he's one of the biggest political streamers.
He's a much better option if you're going to watch like a bigger streamer for that. Obviously Dylan, but then if you say Dylan's not watching, you can check Destiny out. But I think he's better than fucking Hassan, obviously. So if you watch Hassan, stop. Don't do that. I think like Dylan actually proved why you shouldn't, and then now Hassan's getting cooked by Willie Mac. I know this is a whole YouTube thing, you guys. This is all going on, but Willie Mac actually brought up Dylan, Rick the Ukrainian, and Anna's video they did reacting to Hassan. So it's like he's like going down and down. So you've had actually a really, really good streak lately in like the greater political commentator sphere. You've had a really good streak going, so GG's to you.
Yeah, it seems, I'm coming back from the States. Coming back to the States, I'm able to concentrate more on this. I want to do more conversations. I was thinking of doing a follow-up conversation with Destiny, because there's certain things we found some agreement on. We seem to get generally down to the idea that we're both against settlements in the Golan Heights. Not only, and I had an international law perspective as to why I was against it too, but also we both got down to the idea about why it was bad for negotiations, period, and why it would make negotiations more difficult no matter what. And if Israel has been willing to offer the Golan Heights in the past, having this chip still on the table does help trying to find a final settlement with the regions of the power, with the powers in the region. And we were able to find, and I was happy to give out the olive branch of being like, Assad is a cunt. I don't think we should give Assad a bunch of free shit while he can't even keep his country together, because I'm always happy to call Assad a cunt, no matter the occasion.
That was like the first conflict you probably noticed the propaganda spin to make it like how Assad isn't a cunt, like you basically said.
That was the first time I think I've people saw like Assadists try to take a public we got big platforms and were given a lot of attention and were able to like espouse his greatness for the first time on a grand stage, because he didn't really get much attention in the West before that. At least this Assad, his father got a lot more attention during, for example, the Yom Kippur War and the fallout of that, and his Hafez al-Assad's reign and the football protests that he cracked down on. Not the football protest, that was Assad Jr. But Assad Jr. didn't get much attention in the West until this, and I think a lot of people really took in the idea that he was just like an anti-terrorist, secular, stable option for the country, and forgot that he was the person who created the situation that led to all the chaos. He was the one who brutally cracked down on the football protests. He was the one whose security services were horribly corrupt. His security services torturing and murdering children and dumping their children on the side of the road. Of course that was going to cause protests. And how did he react to the protests? Mowing down protesters, shooting protesters, brutalizing protesters. If that's how you react to public dissent after years of fostering corruption, after years of being lackluster in investments and public infrastructure and social services, and stopping people from doing work to service their communities if they don't pay the government official enough in their back pocket, it's going to cause discontent. You react to the discontent brutally. Eventually, if you brutalize the people enough, they'll react brutally to you. And then he cracked down and killed the vast majority of the people during the Syrian civil war. But in all of that chaos, there were people who tried to make defenses for the Assad regime. And a lot of those people are the same ones making defense for the Russians in Ukraine now. Yeah. We're talking like, gray zone hacks. Jackson Hinkle wasn't old enough to have defended the Assad regime. Jackson Hinkle would have been, I think, 13 when or 12 when the Syrian civil war started. But Jackson Hinkle has been a big defender of the Assad regime. He's also taken money from a group that lobbies on their behalf and has ties to the Assad regime's cousins and family members. And other politicians like Ralph Nader have explicitly given their money back after finding out this information due to how shady it is. People like, I believe it was Max Blumenthal, also took about $30,000 from the organization, the Shiroshima Award. But he is somebody who has fervently defended the Assad regime, has said that they haven't gassed their own people, even though the evidence is overwhelming. He is somebody who knows very little about the history from my conversations with him on Syria. I had a debate with him over the issue of Syria and Taiwan. It's one of my favorite debates because he got very mad very quickly because
you cooked him.
We wanted to get into nuance. I wanted to get into the nuance, and I could tell that his knowledge of Syria totally consisted of. I read this Gray Zone article that said this about the chemical attacks, and that's all it consisted of. And so all I had to do was talk about any of the other chemical attacks than the one that is talked about in the Gray Zone article, or any of the other atrocities of the Assad regime, and he was completely out of his depth. The same thing when it came to Syria, and he was like, well, Syria's not a real country because we don't recognize it. Okay, well, then how do you define a country? Is it just based upon recognition? And then once you've broken through that, like once you've cut down the dialogue tree, he didn't know what to say.
You're backing him into all of the corners, like you're killing all of his arguments, and then he probably just went to ad hominems and shit, I bet.
I mean, of course, but I mean, he doesn't, I think, care that much about engaging in good faith or making the best arguments or making the best points.
No,
I think he genuinely just cares about getting a lot of attention and a lot of money. And it's just from how he behaves and his behavior and how he engages with misinformation and making money off of repackaging Assad crime victim, like the dead Syrians as dead Gazans in order to make money on social media. Like the only conclusion I can come to is that this is largely clout motivated. He's either clout motivated or the dumbest misinformation machine on the planet. And I think he's more clout motivated.
And it sucks the influence that he draws, and it can, like, he obviously he grew a bigger platform. He's more than 2 million now. But he's to the point where I've seen this now. This is a very anecdotal, but this is personal because I have a lot of people that follow me and are like, we're on my friends list from the Black Lives Matter protests. So a lot of like protesters. So they're obviously like progressive types, like they're very pro-Palestine, like they're probably out there in the streets marching, like these types of people, like they're activists in the streets. So I've seen them sharing Jackson Hinkle posts. I'm like, y'all, what the fuck? Like, I can't, like, I don't know what to do with that. Like, obviously it's not my responsibility to do that, anything, but I think it's scary, the influence that he does have over events, and if you've seen it or not.
It's crazy the amount of influence and reach he has now, considering just like a year or 2 years ago, I was watching, like seeing his like 30, 40 viewer Twitch streams of him like molding about a girl who about molding about women or just flexing on like debate panels and just trying to get attention, and just generally being shit about politics, to now being the massive misinformation machine that he is now on social media. It's crazy because I really do think that he just was, once he got on social media and online, he just found what worked best in the algorithm, stayed on that path, and what worked best in the algorithm, and I think this is really sucks and says something really bad about human nature too, it's just straight up fucking lies. It is just whatever pisses you off the most, whatever gives you the most anger, whatever outrages you most. And Jackson Hinkle is a fucking outrage machine, whether it be just deep in the conspiracies or just like going after people's appearances and their images and trying to make them appear as grotesque or or awful is always just the worst possible fear-mongering type of doomsday prophecy. The West is falling, our opponents are ugly, just very vitriolic rhetoric really works on social media. Vitriolic rhetoric works, fear-mongering works on social media, and disinformation works on social media. And I think that says something really bad about not only the algorithm, but what we're rewarding on social media platforms. That just reposting dead Syrian children and pretending that they're Gazan children is a good way to get 5 to 10 million views, because not only his account did it, Censored Man did it, so many different accounts on social media did it. And all of them are still allowed on the platform. None of them have any penalties. And the most you can ever expect is 4 or 5 days after their posts have already been seen like by 4 or 5 million people. Then they'll have a context added that nobody will see.
Do you think this do you think this hurts the pro-Palestinian message?
I do think the people and the voices that should be uplifted right now should be primarily Palestinian voices, should be those who are interested in peace and are not interested in stoking tensions, which I do think that is something he's very much interested in. Yes. I would really hate to see the attention that we have right now being wasted on somebody that would abandon the cause immediately once it was no longer profitable to him, or he was given the go-ahead to go in a different direction.
Right, because does he even post about Ukraine at all anymore?
He still posts about Ukraine. He still posts about Ukraine, but I genuinely don't think that this comes from a deep position of care about the Palestinian people. If it did, then he wouldn't lie about their history constantly.
Or throw misinformation. Like he posts those types of videos you said where it's Syrian kids, but he says it's Gaza.
And I do want to remind people that the anti-Assad position is the standard position in the Middle East for the vast majority of people. And the reason why is because many of the horrific images that we're seeing out of Gaza right now, and if we believe the Gaza Ministry of Health numbers as 16,000, horrific death toll. That type of butchering has been going on at a mass scale for about a decade now under the Assad regime, to the deaths of 500 to 600,000 people, the displacements of millions upon millions of people from the entire country. It led to the springing up of terror groups because of his inability to keep the country together that killed people all across the world. I mean, oh my God.
It's crazy you have to argue it, because
it's just seeing somebody be in favor of that.
It's wild.
And then condemn what's going on in Gaza because of the brutality of the bombing. When you endorse that type of a regime that engage in such behavior, I don't think it's genuine. I think it's the Palestinians and Hamas and Hezbollah end up on one geopolitical side of the aisle that you seem to align with, and the other side doesn't.
Right, because it's America and Israel, which is super weird because Putin and Netanyahu were like buddy just recently. But I think even Jackson on one of his streams talked about that, and he was praising Netanyahu, and it was like, oh, Netanyahu's got a good...
He used to praise Netanyahu. Yes, he did. Because Netanyahu had a decent relationship with Putin. He campaigned with Putin. There's posters of him with Putin. And so he was vibing with him. And then, of course, the war happens in the Gaza Strip, and tensions on it. And now, Netanyahu's evil, Netanyahu's bad, Netanyahu's the devil. Right. It just a change on a dime.
Yeah, it's clownery at its finest, which is on X mostly. I feel like a lot of that spice you're given happens on X. Obviously, it happens on many social media platforms, but specifically X. Did you see Elon Musk's interview? He had
the one where he told the advertisers to fuck off.
Yes, I
didn't watch all of it. I watched him tell the advertisers to fuck off.
Oh, it was.
Was all of it good?
Oh, it was a lot. I reacted to it on stream. It was a big burger, a big juicy Elon revealing who he really is burger. Yeah, it's like I guess I don't know. I don't think I watched an Elon Musk interview, I guess, before this one, where I didn't really know his mannerisms, and he just totally made everything like he would talk about things that wouldn't matter. He'd go off on tangents. He would talk about like his patents with Tesla out of nowhere when like Sorkin was basically trying to have him be accountable for his words about, you know, the anti-Semitic post that was written, and specifically the one he responded where he said this is the actual truth, like blatantly, just some crazy.
I remember,
yeah.
He so really likes replying to wild shit. Yes, I don't know if you saw the reply to the Tucker post where he was like, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said that if we don't send Ukraine aid, he's gonna send all of our children to die in Luhansk. He was saying some crazy shit like that, and Elon responded just like, is this true? And Tucker responded, yep, confirmed. So, of course, Vivek responded, yeah, naturally.
Oh, my God.
So it was just, and that was it. And that was the end of it. Now, of course, it was bullshit. All of it was bullshit. But he'll boost it and then not follow up to all of his viewers, and sometimes just like blatantly promote like just misinformation accounts, like the Austin accounts he was promoting before. Those terrible Austin accounts. Oh, my God.
Oh yeah, from Scent Defender and War Monitors 2, which is just a pure Vatnik account, just like pure Vatnik, and then Scent Defender like wrote a.
It really makes you think about where he's getting his information about the war from,
right? Or if it's on purpose, like if it's like calculated this way to just cause chaos. My opinion, like shit, there's no way. I mean, or one of the richest persons on earth is just that's like. That stupid.
I can believe that he's that stupid. Yes, people can be smart in one area and completely dumb in another area. I mean, like if you talk to certain musicians who are the most brilliant musicians in the world, you ask them about their politics, they're the dumbest people in the world. Shut your fucking mouth and sing. Like, and I don't mean that to degrade and say artists can't have political opinions, but there's some people who generally have no fucking clue what they're talking about, and they're famous, and since they think they have a stage and a mic, that they should just keep yapping all the time. And that sometimes happens with politics, and you get my point.
Right. Yeah. So it was to the point, so you watched it to the advertiser's point and in the Elon Musk interview. Yeah, he says crazy shit all the time, but it was the anti-Semitic stuff when all the advertisers pulled, and he is sticking to that, like F you. And I've
seen a lot of conservatives making up new brands to try to like fill the gap. I saw Terrence Williams. He started like a pancake brand using Patriot beer. I've seen all this nonsense.
More My Pillow,
but none of this is gonna cover even like 1/10 of the loss in advertiser revenue from a company like Disney, a behemoth like Disney. They're not going to be able to make all that up with like, I made this lemonade in my bathtub. It's just not going to work. I'm sorry.
Chat, Dylan is just masking the fact that he wants to live in a Vivek Ramaswamy America.
Okay. I do want to live in a Vivek Ramaswamy America.
Absolutely. My Pillow's for everybody. But My Pillow premium subscriptions for everybody.
I want to live in an America where we get to watch Vivek Ramaswamy get trounced in international negotiations every 5 minutes.
I want to live in America where I watch Chris Christie audibly just destroy Vivek Ramaswamy.
Did you watch the Republican debates?
Just the clips at this point. I can't sit through a whole one.
So I didn't watch the whole thing either. I just watched the clips too. But the clips were fun. Vivek is such a schmarmy asshole.
Yes, he sucks. We've been saying you are like the number one. So tell us what's Vivek's your favorite guy, I think.
I mean, the most recent one, he was just as annoying as always. Like his pressure campaign on Nikki was weird. It was, Nikki, you want to send American sons and daughters to go die in Ukraine? Number one, no, she doesn't. She wants to send, just like everybody else, she wants to send weapons to Ukraine. Look, I disagree with Nikki Haley on a whole host of issues. On a majority of things.
For me personally, too.
If her position was to do that, I would tell you, because then I could laugh at her for saying like you're not going to get that through. It's not going to happen. No. But that's not her position. Her position is just to send weapons. But he was saying she wants to send our boys over there to die when she can't even name 3 provinces from Ukraine.
Oh my God.
She can't even do it. Look, she's silent. She's silent. And then she's just kind of standing there like waiting for him to finish. And he continues to just, she's silent. She's silent. And then when he finally stops, she says, Luhansk, Donetsk, and Crimea.
Yeah. and that he took that as a L for Nikki Haley.
But the problem is all of the edits that I'm seeing posted online don't include her answering the question 5 seconds after he finished asking it, because he was trying to like take advantage of the silence that she was giving him, because he was talking and she is not a fucking cave woman. Yeah,
he hit her with the name 10 books. name 10. Can you name 10 books?
Name 10 books. What's a TIFF?
Books. Yeah. Name 3 provinces. Yeah, that was probably a stupid move to do against Nikki Haley, who was she was our
representative at the UN.
Yeah, UN ambassador. So that was kind of stupid to challenge that. But of all of them, her and Chris Christie, when it comes to Ukraine, are probably the best options. But none of these people have a chance with fucking.
No, I mean, like, this is the problem with me. I'm not going to watch the fucking debates because I'm watching the Republican runner-up contest, right?
Yes, that's what it is.
You know what I also watched though? I watched
Republicans.
And you know what I did watch to full of? I watched the Democratic debates. Did you hear about that?
Wait. I just saw something with Gavin Newsom and
no. That
was something separate.
The Gavin Newsom isn't running for president. I watched the Democratic presidential debates. Did you not watch this?
No, I did not. Okay, who is at this now?
Really? This didn't knock down the House? You didn't hear about this from the radio, or all the kids are talking about it. You haven't? Okay, well, so the Young Turks decided to host a Democratic presidential debate between Cenk Uygur, Marianne Williamson, and Dean Phillips
from Minnesota. Oh yeah, he is running for president.
Dean Phillips, Marianne Williamson, and Cenk Uygur, where they got together and they debated. Well, they didn't really debate. They called it a debate, but they all just sat there and said that Joe Biden's not going to win. He can't win. And then they all put forward their general agenda for the country. And here's the funniest part about it, is it was all interspliced with footage from the Republican presidential debate. And then they would react to their debate. So it was half just their policy platform and half them responding to the Republican debaters. Because they knew that their knockoff ass Democratic presidential debate wasn't going to do any views, so they had to somehow bring in the Republican presidential debate and also make it a response to that.
It's kind of like the Manning cast for politics.
I'm not angry at them for doing it or anything. I think it got like 30,000, maybe 40,000 views or something. I have no clue. I'd have to go back. On the original live stream video, when I watched it, it was at 27,000.
Oh man. Robert F. Kennedy wasn't invited or what?
No, or RFK, he didn't go there. I don't think. No, he didn't go. Because he dropped out of the Democratic primary. Remember, he's an independent now.
Oh, I did not know that now. Damn, dude, I gotta plug back. Listen, I already told my audience 2024 plugging back in completely, like full on, because there's likely going to be protests.
It's crazy that RFK is the most brainless Kennedy.
U.S. Yeah, and do you remember when he had the Russian AI images on his campaign posts? Where like he had some Russian chick in an RFK 2024 shirt, and there was literal like the letter, like their alphabet.
I did not see that.
What? You didn't see that? Look it up. Look up RFK Russian AI photo on his campaign.
RFK.
Yeah, you took it down, but it was up. Yeah, look at chat. Will probably say I saw it. U.S. president. It was crazy.
Let me see this. Oh, yeah, so it was like a fake person who wasn't actually wearing his merch?
No. It was his account posted this, and it was like a campaign post, but it was a Russian chick in a RFK 2024 America post, like outside of a Russian cafe.
Huh.
And then he had other AI generated.
You're right.
Shit.
This isn't Russia.
Yeah, bro. It's crazy.
That is weird.
Oh, very weird, isn't it?
It's strange.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Concerning, I would say.
Very odd. Concerning. Yeah, I would say that's very concerning.
Yeah.
Do you like my long pipe?
Yeah, I'm trying to match you over here. I got my my Cossack pipe that I was given by Rick the Ukrainian. Shout out to Rick the Ukrainian. And also you should go check out Dylan's video with Rick, especially if you want to watch more Hassan Els.
We're gonna do more of those in the future.
Yes, please.
We've decided. I've decided I'm gonna do more of them, and we're gonna. The next one's probably gonna be Tucker Carlson.
Yes.
There's a few others I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do one for Biden. I'm gonna do one for Trump. Obviously, when the election comes closer. And I'll probably do one for other high-profile commentators as well. And just like anytime where I'm like, this could use a Ukrainian perspective, I'm gonna do that.
People love that.
But that might. I mean, I hope it. I wonder if it's gonna. It's not gonna cause as much noise again. It might cause as much noise again.
Oh, Dylan.
It caused a lot of noise with the Hassan stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, because he has his only message. He's right. Only. Yeah. Oh, Dylan's put Ukrainian voices again. Look how disgusting he is. Yeah, it might work. It might work, especially if if you have them react to other content, like you said, Tucker Carlson, Vivek. I watched a Jake Bro video with Operator Starsky. We didn't film it though, but it would have been a good video. And Jake Bro was reacting to Robert F. Kennedy and his campaign video or whatever. And Operator Starsky's like, look at this fucking idiot. So
I do think a lot of it really is that they know that it's not going to look good to have people from the country they're talking about, after having their audiences never really listen to the people from said country and have them reflect on what they're being told from their favorite commentators, saying, wow, that was really fucking stupid. Because they're going to be like, wow, well, that person's on the ground. And people love that shit. People love, like, that person's got that on the ground grassroots experience. They're from there. People love that type of experience. If there's anything people would prefer, is like a snobby in a suit with a tie. Like, I went to university for 20 years to study South Korea. Or the person who's like, I grew up in South Korea. I know South Korea. I live in South Korea. People love that shit. And it definitely people who hate mainstream media as well, because they think that's a better, like, more kind of grassroots, kind of underground way to do journalism. And so it hits on like all of the, like, the worst buttons for these hack alt media commentators that have been spreading misinformation about the war.
Yeah, or just in general. I mean, yeah, for Ukraine, absolutely, but it's more a broader issue. Like, it's more of a broad issue. Sorry,
we should do it. We should do it for other topics as well. Like, it would be cool if I could get somebody from Guyana to respond to all this crazy shit about their country.
Fuck yeah, absolutely. Platform, because, like, how else will you only listen to some American, or the same criticisms we give to, like, Ian Miles Wrong for his takes, because he's Malaysian and never leaves Malaysia, but has fucking the worst. You know what I mean? Like, we only have American commentators for many things. So yeah,
that's true. I also distrust the Malaysians.
Yeah. Ian Miles Wrong. He's responsible for
it. Is weird. It is weird because when he talks about issues, sometimes it sounds like he's talking about it as if he was an American. Yeah, and it's weird. I don't care about somebody talking about issues in America as a foreigner. America affects the world. We're a globalized world. Kumbaya, whatever the fuck. I'm very cosmopolitan. But when I listen to him talk about it, he talks about it in a way like they're coming for us, in a type of way like, what do you mean us, motherfucker? You don't even live here. Number one, nobody's coming for us, but you're not us. You live in Malaysia. If America blew up tomorrow, you wouldn't even feel it.
My recent favorite, and that's why I've been playing Grand Theft Auto so much lately, is because they reacted to GTA 6, and Elon said that he couldn't play GTA 5 because it involves killing cops. And then Ian Miles Chong responded, yeah, that's why I like Cyberpunk, because you don't have to kill cops. And then he got community notes and said Ian Miles Wrong's written like 55 articles about Grand Theft Auto 5 over the past 10 years.
It's just a fucking strange life. Of course he's played Grand Theft Auto. Of course he's a gaming guy. Stained with fucking Cheeto dust and put hours and hours and hours into it.
Of course.
Just like the rest of us did. Right?
Literally.
Of course. I do. But like, why deny it? Why all of a sudden, like 20 years, 30 years after the fact, we're in the midst of another Grand Theft Auto panic, and the people who are doing it are the alternative underground conservative counterculture movement. Literally,
like, we're back to 2004 Grand Theft Auto canceling shit again. I feel like we're back in that time period.
Dude, wait a few weeks, man. It's gonna be fuck Baldur's Gate 3 because it's Dungeons and Dragons, and Dungeons and Dragons is witchcraft. We're gonna be right back to that shit, man.
Game of the year, baby. Game of the year. They can't say shit. Baldur's Gate 1.
Sheldon Adelson, man, he's haunting this country.
Yes, I feel like that's going to be the downfall. Well, Dylan, what do you got? You got anything else coming up?
Do I have anything else? I have other documentaries I'm releasing. I have the artillery one. The second one is going to be on my friend Dima, who is an evacuation worker who I think is a little crazy. He evacuated a bunch of people out of Mariupol completely independently, as in his own, like, just like, get in my car, let's go. Get in my car, let's go. And he's been doing stuff like that ever since. And it's very, very interesting to talk to him about what led to that. And it's just going to be a documentary about him and his life, and personalizing him. Then I have a third documentary, which is my demining documentary. I lived for a month with demining crews. I talk about it all the time. We finished the last interviews for it. And so we're either going to make it even more expansive and make it 3 months, or I'm going to release it as is. So I'm still making a decision on that.
Series is good. If you can go to a series out of it.
The demining series.
Yeah, like do like part 1, part 2, part 3.
Follow demining in Ukraine throughout the war.
Yeah, because it'd grow it's just more video and like it'd give more people.
That's true. I like releasing something as a final project though. I don't like episodic format because I want to be able to be like, here is it in its entirety. You didn't only watch half of it.
I just said that because for the YouTube algorithm.
Yeah, I know. I need to get more comfortable with it.
Facts.
I need to find more ways to engage that way.
Yeah, everyone's commenting.
I think what it should be episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, and then release a last one which has all of them together. I think that would be the best way to do it.
Chat, this is the only way to respond to what Dylan has is to get my bigger pipe, which again is just a longer Cossack pipe. And it says, we are from Ukraine on there. But this one's pretty cool because it has like a honey pot lid with the trident on there. But yeah, I think Dylan definitely has me beat in terms of size of pipe. But yeah, you got 2 pipes going? God dang, dude. God damn.
Yeah, I've got a few more projects. I want to do something that talks about what it feels like to get chased by a drone. And I want to write it like almost like a horror movie, or write it. That's at least my idea. I haven't thought about it enough. I need to think about it more. But I want to show people what it feels like, because it's really hard to explain what it's like to be scared of being watched 24/7 from basically birds that the enemy controls. It's terrifying.
It feels so cyberpunk too, like cyber warfare. I don't know. It has like that type of feel because it's like literal conventional World War I type gritty in the trenches warfare, like artillery coming, but also you have like in real time drones that reveal video in a live feed that goes back to the talk, and the headquarters can watch it and relay real time information. And it's like super high tech advanced. So it's kind of like this blend of the past and like the obviously the present, but the future too. Yeah, that type of shit needs to be told now, especially since we're clearly going even further in that direction of drone warfare. Nice, attaboy. We're clearly going in that direction though, like automated systems, AI. Fuck, that's the other thing I'm going to cover when I get back from Ukraine, is actually try to understand AI a little more and like the conferences that are happening. And then that's the other thing I forgot to bring up with Elon Musk's interview, is when he talked about AI and how he is like a voice in that. And that scares me after what I heard in that interview. I don't want him behind AI. He's like the Skynet guy. Elon Musk is this. I swear to God, I wish I could. Like, it's funny, but
I could see him taking a technocratic, like, the world doesn't understand my genius, I'm gonna have to show them.
He will convince everyone. It'll start with the Neuralinks, and then when people get the chips, and then he's gonna have Skynet when he's behind the AI shit. Because I don't trust him at all.
I feel like the New World Order people should be more freaked out by the brain chip shit.
Yeah, that's kind of. I'm not doing that. Anyone in the chat gonna do that Neuralink shit? Like, what the fuck? Who's? Maybe maybe you know how I could start, and honestly, how they could probably get it into commercialized first is people that have severe brain damage or PTSD, even maybe. That could like correct that. You know what I mean? Like if your brain waves aren't going at 100 and that Neuralink maybe could do that.
I mean, if I had brain damage, I think the solution would be injecting Twitter straight into my skull.
Same. I feel like that would provide all the information ever. Like,
I feel like that would fix my brain.
Just become like, like it would patch everything. You could have like Ian Miles Chong's face. You could just like morph that, and then the.
Could you imagine if you couldn't like run away from notifications in responses to your tweets?
Oh my God. I feel like did you see the video of speaking Jackson and Sneeko when they were watching?
Oh yeah, Hitler's gay. Yeah, I saw that. I made a video about it. It was great.
Yeah, it was really hard hitting.
It's about a book. I know what he's talking about too. There's a book that called I forget, it's like the Pink Triangle or some shit. I forget exactly what it's called. But the book alleges that basically the SS and the Wehrmacht were all like a big gay cult. They're all gay and they were all homosexual. And they all tried to erase all their history of being gay. But it's all fucking just complete nonsense.
You guys need to go to Sneeko and Jackson Hinkle to find that hard-hitting information out. If like that, listen, if that is something that you really want to know and learn about, that's where you have to go. But anyways, I was going to say, I feel like if you don't make it and you're in purgatory after you die, like that's the type of content that you have to be forced to watch. Like when you turn on the purgatory TV, that's what's on, like that content. And then also Hassan's breaking news. Hassan's breaking news, and then entertainment is like that with his Sneeko and Jackson Hinkle.
I would feel like a purgatory TV would be would probably just be probably the AI generated Family Guy episodes and Friends.
Those I watch. Listen, I'm not even gonna cap. I watch some of those AI generated Family Guy episodes, and they generate some funny shit sometimes.
Some of it's funny. It's the funniest when it just glitches out though, and they just screaming at the top of their lungs, just that's when it's the best. System breaks.
Oh my God. All right, Dylan. It was great talking. I'll talk to you in Ukraine next week, actually, probably.
Dope. Finally, you'll be my on the ground reporter.
Yeah. I'll be there for you. So I'll tell you what's happening and shit. We can figure that out.
Awesome. Sounds good. And if you want to do more on the ground reporting, I want to do more on the ground stuff here and in Ukraine. So please, when you have ideas, let me know.
I have tons of we're doing shit next year because like that's how I got my following started, and I went viral fucking every goddamn day in 2020. I'd have like my live streams. This is just what it was. So I know when I go back to it, I think I have this audience like waiting for me. Because I built this whole new Ukraine audience in the last couple of years, and I'm blessed to have you guys. But I was in my chat will know, like I was having 60,000 concurrent viewers like every night on this shit, with filming protests and like going to shit and like being involved in like US current events. So we can really get some streaming done, and also that hard hitting journalism that we like, where we want to edit content and find a videographer here in the US that can follow us or come with us. And yeah, we should definitely do shit next year, because I think next year is going to be a historic year again.
Absolutely.
Like every 4 years is historic, but I feel like 2020.
Are you excited for January 6th, 2025?
God damn, dude. I have lots of in my brain of what I think is going to happen, and none of it's good. But I feel like 2020 could have been documented even better, and I want to do that for this next one.
Dude, the alt history books about this election are going to be great in 30 years.
Oh my God, dude. If we're around. If we're still
That's
here.
True. I'll take refuge in Ukraine.
Yeah, same. Listen, absolutely. Ukraine is the future.
I do think that if America broke down, and if I was, for some reason, I didn't come back because I felt like I had to be involved, which I feel like would probably be my first instinct. Like, I'm not going to abandon my country, right?
Right.
But if I wanted to, I'm pretty sure I could disappear in Ukraine, given a week to prepare.
So I'm going to be extra with it. We're going to have to figure out how to sail. Okay, we're going to have to be comfortable in the water, because planes aren't, unless we can fly. We're going to have to learn how to fly, but we'll have to because planes aren't going to exist.
We can go on some Panamanian cargo vessel.
Yeah, it'd be like stowaways. Yeah, make a thing. Oh, that'd be some good content.
We can get smuggled in with Zelensky's cocaine stash.
Just passing the cargo ship with the HIMARS on the way to the U.S. southern border.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you next week.
Awesome. See you later, man. You have a good one. Right. Bye-bye.
Yep. Take care. Bye-bye.